several iterations over the years. Back in 2013, Black Flag was made with Anvil Next, which was first used for 2012's Assassin's Creed 3 and continued to be the default for the franchise until 2014's Rogue. Resynced has been completely rebuilt within Ubisoft Anvil, the current iteration of the game engine, first utilized in 2020 for Assassin's Creed Valhalla, before going on to be used for 2023's Mirage and last year's Shadows. As such, the visuals for
Wait,
Resynced are
I will say, like my girl, she wanted to play the Assassin's Creed Mirage. I don't even think I could be wrong. I think she didn't beat it, but maybe that I have a hand in that. But um, it looked. All right. So if you ever played an Assassin's Creed, then you kind of know the gist of how it plays. So to me, it was not much of an upgrade. Like once you got to, if you ever played this game, Black Flag, like I want to say you had dual weapons. Like the original Assassin's Creed, your character has like a hidden blade um on his wrist. Like they cut off his ring finger and then they put a hidden blade, so like the hidden blade part would come out where his ring finger is, and then they changed that over time with the characters. Even got to a point where a character wind up building the hitting blades on both arms. So like you could stab with both arms and or both hands and stuff like that. So it was really cool. But let's see. Yeah, it was a little cruel. See, so the first game, you can kind of think of it as like some cult in a sense. So the first game, so you're this think of like an assassin, back in the day, but it's all computerized. So let's say this could have happened in the before Christ or after Christ time era, and then you have ancestors from that. So like let's say today's time. So there's this company, let's say uh Google, let's say like Google is testing on people trying to get their, oh no, there we go. So let's say Google is testing on people trying to get their ancestry and they find the right person. See, but see, that's not even. Well, I don't know. How'd you like that? How'd you like? I stopped playing Assassin's Creed after probably after Black Flag. I want to say because I didn't get three. Two to me, Assassin's Creed 2 is the best for me because that's where I go. I know after Assassin's Creed 2 they had Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, and I don't know where Black Flag falls in the mix of that, but I almost 100% at that game. So, but yeah, long story short, like they find the character, backtrack his ancestry to find out that he was a an assassin, and they use his memories to locate some treasure in modern times. So yeah, it's a little cruel. But it's fun. It had a good story in the beginning, but I think Black Flag doesn't relate to any of that. It was his own standalone game. Like you didn't go back and forth between the past and the future. But yeah, tell me, that's the Viking game. So tell me about that.
pretty different from the original Black Flag. This is most clear in the character models, especially when it comes to facial details like Edward's beard and Anne Bonny's blush. Everyone in Resynced seems prettier than they did in Black Flag. I'm not a huge fan of this stylistic choice, though everyone looks too clean. It's cool to see the already stellar vocal performances of Black Flag be informed by facial expressions that can match the nuance of what's being said, but it's now harder to picture these characters as the filthy sailors that they definitely were.
Much thanks for your aid back there.
Adewale.
I'm a lot more positive on what this change in game
That's
engine
good. That's good. I mean, it's better than nothing. I feel like the games nowadays, like, what are they really giving you? You know, besides great graphics, would be the plot, the story. If the story doesn't catch you, uh, uh, after you beat the game, all you're like, after like to me, like a good example of this would be like God of War Ragnarok. To me, like the story was so good and the graphics are so good that I don't even want to replay the game because I don't want to go through everything I went through on my first playthrough because the story got me so invested in the game that I try to complete everything, even when they did Van Halen, the DLC. Like even right now, I still can't really beat. I can't get past a certain point, so I haven't even beat the DLC. But a game like that, it did everything correctly. But then I would say like currently I'm playing Grand Theft Auto 5, and it's like after you beat the story, it's not really much to do. Like granted, yeah, the graphics is cool and everything, but this after you beat the story, that's it.
does for the environments in Black Flag, especially the three major cities of Havana, Kingston, and Nassau. The locales are brighter and filled with more details to bring more life to each and help further differentiate each of the three as vastly different power
Yeah,
structures.
this looks good.
While the gameplay reveal for Resynced is filled with Ubisoft employees repeatedly saying that this remake is not an RPG and is faithful to the original title, it's
Hmm.
clear to see how the shift to the new engine has informed aspects of Black Flag to look more like what we got in Valhalla, Mirage, and Shadows. That's especially clear in combat. In sword duels and firefights, Edward moves a lot faster than he did in the original Black Flag, and there's a stricter emphasis on utilizing parries to break an enemy's
Ah,
guard. It looks like a
see, see, so you have the dual swords, and so I like I'm not gonna sit here and try to go back in the timeline. I don't even think the laptop can handle if I pull up Google to try to look up uh when did Assassin's Creed 2 came out to when Black Flag came out, but you see the character has the dual swords. So this was like the combat in the original game was fire. Like it was a good game. Everything about this game was good. The story was good. The characters were good. The locations where you played the game was good. So I mean, it's pretty spot on so far. What did I do? I didn't mean to do that. Mm, there we go.
hybrid of the original Black Flag gameplay and how Yasuke and Naoe fight in Shadows, which feels like a solid change. As awesome as it was to go on a rampage in games like Assassin's Creed 3 and Black Flag, it did make combat mind-numbingly easy even when you were outnumbered by dozens of enemy soldiers. This
I,
new take on Black Flag's combat
yeah, I will say that though. The one caveat to Assassin's Creed in general is that once you understand the mechanics of of the combat, it doesn't matter how many people you go up against. It's pretty easy as long as you press the buttons at the right time. You parry at the right time. You'll guard at the right time. You'll do everything at the right time. It's no um it's not really like a real challenge per se. You were you gonna say something? Is your favorite game?
seems like it adds a tinge of strategy to the formula.
Okay. Okay.
Resynced adds parkour moves to Black Flag as well, that exist in some of the older Assassin's Creed games, but largely don't in the newer titles. They are only in Shadows because of post-launch updates, for example. Ejects are the major addition, manual inputs that let you command Edward to leap to the side or straight back off of a wall to more easily reach ledges that are
All
normally
right, I'll
difficult
see
or
you later.
impossible to clamber
Good
to
luck
based
with
on where he's
training.
standing. Mastering these moves let you look cool as hell while free running and better express yourself through movement. And hallelujah, the worst part of Black Flag, by a wide margin too, is finally being addressed in this remake. Black Flag has way too many missions that require you to tail a target and avoid being spotted, where losing track of your foe or being identified causes immediate failure, forcing you to restart. It even has tailing missions in which
I disagree. I don't think that Black Flag had too many missions. If you feel like it had too many missions, then I don't think you enjoyed the game. That's like talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Like, if you think that those games had too many side quests, then you didn't enjoy the game. The whole purpose of the OG Final Fantasy VII was the side quests. Is you needed to do the side quests to gain the special armors, the special weapons for each character. If you didn't do that, then like you wouldn't progress quickly, or the story would be a lot harder to progress. Some people don't have the attention span even back then to sit through hard games, So I don't know. I don't think that was a good take. I don't think that was a good take.
Edward has to secretly follow a ship while he's sailing in his ship. One or two of these would have been fine, but Black Flag has more of these than any other Assassin's Creed game in the entire series, and they suck. These are thankfully addressed in the remake. While these tailing missions still exist, Resynced is taking the Shadows approach. If you're spotted or lose your target, the mission doesn't automatically end. Instead, you'll have to find an alternative way of progressing forward. Maybe the target Edward was trailing runs away, and so you have to scour the city to find them again. Or getting spotted might lead to a fight, and killing the target lets you loot a note off the body that informs Edward of where to go next to continue the mission. Speaking of stealth, Resynced addresses the strange omission of a crouch mechanic in the early Assassin's Creed games. Despite crouching being a mainstay mechanic of stealth games for years, Assassin's Creed didn't get a manual crouch until 2014's Unity. Previous franchise protagonists could crouch, but only by moving slowly in bushes. Now, in Resynced, Edward can crouch at any time, much like every other Assassin's Creed protagonist since Unity's Arno. This makes it easier for him to hide behind certain terrain and move stealthily through environments where it was previously impossible in the original Black Flag.
Hmm. Let's see. Okay, we can delete that.
Perhaps the most surprising changes for Resynced are coming for the Jackdaw, Edward's ship. The way it moves and fights are augmented with some of the improvements that came to naval combat in later games, notably Rogue. But the ship is also getting a whole lot more character, or it's getting 3 more characters. 3 brand new characters are being added to Black Flag's story: Lucy Baldwin, the Padre, and Tobias Deadman Smith. Each of these 3 fulfills a function on the Jackdaw, similarly to how Adewale is Edward's quartermaster. Recruiting them unlocks perks for the Jackdaw, each of which can be upgraded. Resynced is
That's
adding
cool.
new story arcs to Black Flag's main campaign too. One sees Edward interacting with both Edward Blackbeard Thatch and Stede Bonnet, whose relationship has gotten a bit more attention in a post-Black Flag world, thanks to the likes of media like Our Flag Means Death. Their connection is touched on very briefly in the original Black Flag, and it seems like Resynced is planning to flesh that out a bit more. In addition, the 3 new
Hmm.
characters joining the Jackdaw each have their own loyalty missions, which add even more story to Black Flag's overall tale. It remains to be seen how substantial each of these storylines are, though Black Flag has some of the best side quests in the series, and just one of the best main campaign stories.
See, so it goes back to what I was saying before. If you think that Black Flag has too many side quests and you just didn't like the game. Now you're saying that, Black Flag, out of the whole entire series of Assassin's Creed, Black Flag had one of the best side quests. So you got to kind of make up your mind here.
Period. So I'm hopeful that trend continues here. Edward will be able to adopt a pet in Resynced 2, which will join him on the Jackdaw and keep him company as he sails the sea. You'll have a choice between a cat and a monkey. Frankly, you can't go wrong either way. Sadly, Resynced solely focuses on Edward's story. That means the
That's
multiplayer isn't returning, which is surprising considering the multiplayer for the original 2013 game still has a fairly dedicated community. Admittedly, it's not nearly as active as it was over a decade ago, but I could see this remake revitalizing that. On an even worse note, Resync doesn't include Freedom Cry either. The fan favorite post-launch DLC to Black Flag that then went on to release as a standalone game, Freedom Cry takes place 13 years after the events of Black Flag and sees you play
mm,
as Edward's quartermaster Adewale after he joins the Assassin Brotherhood. The short 5-hour
nice.
story is fantastic and has one of the best composed scores in all of Assassin's Creed. How Black Flag's modern day storyline works is the big change that we don't know much about because Ubisoft didn't really talk about it or show off what it would look like, mostly just saying that it's evolving. Given how Ubisoft described it,
Hmm.
and considering so much of Resync seems built on Shadow's formula, I assume the modern day storyline is going to work as it did in Shadows. In Shadows, Naoi would reach certain points in her story, and that would reveal secrets of her past, including the origins of the assassins coming to Japan, and how Naoi's mother joined the Assassin Brotherhood. These glimpses into the past would be accompanied with a mysterious voice, which is a whole thing that we
Oh,
simply
oh, okay. That's a fair point because I think what happened was that like after once they made the Brotherhood, now they want to go into the details of how these characters came to be. So then you making all these other games, but I think the fan base kind of lost interest after a while. Like somebody like myself, like I know I lost interest after a certain point. The games became the same. Like yeah, just different location, same play style, same look. So um, so yeah, so but this is a good concept if they're trying to play off of the whole uh brotherhood and you have multiple characters in there and then you're trying to give the background story to each of the characters. That's cool. That's cool.
don't have time for, talking to the unnamed user of the Animus. It was very surreal and kept the modern day storyline brief and largely disconnected from the rest of Shadows. Given how divided people were about Edward's journey being interrupted to roleplay as an unnamed corporate spy in the original Black Flag, I can see Shadow's more limited
I don't
format being
remember
the
that.
main inspiration for how Ubisoft handles Resync's modern day storyline. For more coverage of Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag Resynced, be sure to subscribe to GameSpot.